G'day guys, here we are. I'm joined by Armeanio. Welcome, mate.
It's good to be here. As everybody can tell, we have a brand new setup. We've upgraded the weekly update videos. I hope everybody enjoys. This is going to come out on May 1st. So those of you that missed the Discord update, hopefully you can catch up to what's happening in the Ergo ecosystem.
Yeah, it's another jam-packed sort of update this week. Number of core updates and also community updates. So yeah, let's get to it.
Sure. It looks like Pragmaxim has been working on the node. Now, I know that the goal there is to improve wallet support using the API endpoint on the node. That certainly is something that I know Nemo and MrStahlfelge have been asking for. So I'm glad to see that the core team is on that. Greenhat and the sigmaverse team always are working on interesting stuff. It looks like they're working on Swift and WASM bindings, which hopefully will get us into different environments for our applications. Looks like they're also working on the batch Merkle proof plus proof of work interlink vector. Now that's a mouthful. Basically, what that means, NepoPals are NepoPals are a compression technique, right? So you take superblock, and you compress the data in between, right? That kind of makes sense. You can think of that as like the file zip feature that people have on computers. Well, they need to build a way to unzip that in order to verify transactions and work with UTXOs that haven't moved in a while. So they are basically putting together a fancy unzip mechanism so that the wallets can work with a compressed blockchain. Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Looks like he's also been working on the Oracle Bootstrap command. That's something that is coming together in pieces. I wouldn't say we're there yet, but having Oracle V2 should give the community tools to run oracles. And, you know, that's kind of different than a lot of other approaches, right? Everyone says, oh, you know, we're competing with Chainlink. Well, Chainlink is kind of its own company, right? Where, you know, they kind of have their own hierarchy and make their own partnerships. Our goal is to actually just deliver tools so that the community can create that. Community can be their own federated, you know, Oracle pools. And I think that in time that will draw in partners.
I think a lot of things that, or what gets lost in translation is that Ergo isn't an Oracle data provider itself. It provides a framework there for anyone to be able to spin up one of these Oracle pools.
Yeah, it's a different concept. We're not trying to be a data provider or a company that just focuses solely on oracles. We're trying to deliver tools to developers so that they can, you know, and ideally as DeFi blossoms and as new frameworks come along, the market and the ability for people in the community to profit from serving that market grows organically.
Yeah, most definitely.
It would be a lot easier. It would be a lot easier if it were just like one guy or one company that had one thing and was selling it, and then people were kind of investing in that, let's say, infrastructure, right? But that's really not what decentralization is about. It's about trying to provide tools to people so that they can take control of what they do, what they build, and what they interact with.
Most definitely. I think that's the most important thing, is keeping that decentralization.
Yeah, and it's hard. You know, it would be easier if you had just like one guy that ran the show and then you could invest in that one project. But that's really not what we're trying to do with a lot of the tooling we build. We're trying to deliver it so that developers can then take that, plug it into their own unique use cases, deliver their own services, and create their own economic benefit.
Most definitely. Really looking forward to see what's been delivered in conjunction with the Wave Enterprises sort of team as well.
It's in progress. Right now we are still building and piecing together the framework itself, but it's coming there. It's getting put together pretty well. Next, we hear from Kushti. It looks like we have a new reference client. From what I've seen, this is a fat one. Usually he wants to try to put 2 or 3, specific updates into reference client update. This one had quite a few. So I guess he's been busy.
Yep. And these guys pump them out, don't they?
It's really amazing to look at the development rate. Part of that I do think is because we have, the sigmaverse team that's working towards, the compression and unzipping of the blockchain for light clients. And, they also have a couple of unique frameworks with oracles. So lots to play with.
Then also he touches on now the ERP27. So he's updated the text on that one, made final review of the code and made tests for the re-emission and pay to re-emission contracts. So that was all on the testnet. And he's pretty confident that it's ready to go now to chuck onto mainnet. Obviously in talks with the mining pools and everything along those sort of lines as well.
I think the real, let's say, gold past the actual update itself is just him playing around with the re-emission contract, because that's going to open up the pathway to like proof of work launched projects where you could potentially start a project on top of Ergo and use the miner's work to distribute tokens.
Yeah, projects can have the same launch as Ergo.
Yeah, and those airdrops get crazy. Let's be honest. You have, you have some people that just create 50 wallet addresses. You can't really, let's just say it's harder to trick, or fake proof of work versus, like say you answer a quiz or, have a wallet address. That gets sketchy sometimes.
Yeah, you could also consider the rulings in regards to the SEC and bits and pieces like that.
Well, the reality is the security and proof of work comes from the miners, and whatever we can do to subsidize them without, let's just say, taking too much value from users, I think that's a great plan. If you have them to where their primary economic incentive is just fee-based or MEV-based, sometimes that creates issues. We've certainly seen that with Ethereum.
Yep, definitely. We want the miners to be interacting with the ecosystem, and this is just another value add for them.
I'm looking forward to it. Once EIP27 is live, I'm going to start my miner. For right now, it's just testnet, me playing with it in different Linux distributions.
It's good fun, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of nice to play around with that kind of stuff. I enjoy it. Tinker.
Yeah. So the last one on Kushti, he's just reviewing the DEXY contracts.
I do think that DEXY is, in my opinion, it's a little bit more unique than the AGUSD framework, just because of incentivizing trading is kind of unique. It's going to be good for miners. It's going to give people something they can continuously try to build small returns with, being that it's kind of floats within set parameters. The bear whale attacks don't really make as much sense. And I think that as we get bots, as we get more community engagement, we're going to see in periods of market stability, the range that floats become smaller. Now, of course, you can always have China banned Bitcoin again, and just sells off, and shorts are getting liquidated, longs are getting liquidated. Who knows? Sometimes the space gets crazy in terms of volatility, but I think that it's going to be interesting to watch this, as markets float around.
Yeah, that's just a standard day in crypto, isn't it?
What can you do?
So, MrStahlfelge, how do we pronounce this one? Stahlfelge. I'm sure he'll give me heaps on this one. He's just got a quick wallet update. Version 1.8 is now released for all the users, and upcoming version is 1.9. I think he's already made some starts on that one. So he's made smaller usability improvements and refactorings, especially regarding the new transaction history and ErgoPay. Integrated the new AppKit version. Process a security audit. He got a little bit of a feedback on that one, so he's implemented all those improvements. So yeah, everything's all sorted. One of the big things I like on this one as well, and he's shared, is having a little bit of a proof of, what's the word? Here we go. Now I'm stumped. The point of sale, having that to be able to calculate the costs in US dollars or whatever fiat currency you want.
Yeah, that's a big little tool. If you want to, let's say, have a small business, or there's a lot of places in the world where you have small vendors, right? And if any small vendor is in the Ergo ecosystem, it at least gives them the opportunity to send or accept payments in fiat. That's big. You even have some people in the community that have gone about and convinced small vendors to accept Ergo. So I guess it just got a little bit easier to do that.
So also on the AppKit, he's implemented an improvement for users getting malformed transaction error. So that occurs when the node isn't completely synced.
See, it looks like next we have an update in terms of just-in-time costing. That's basically the march toward update 5.0, where we're going to change how the network estimates block space for transactions and improve the script engine. Right now, a lot of that has been built, but it is still being tested, which, it's kind of the second part of being built. You put these things together, then we test them, try to break them, depending on what comes up. Sometimes there's more work that's required, and other times, it's ready to push. I think we're still kind of in the final testing phase of this, but we're certainly getting closer.
Yeah. So what's the difference between all of time and just-in-time costings?
Sure. The difference is whether you have the ability to use the past as kind of a predictive mechanism versus just looking into the future. Just-in-time is going to be a little bit more efficient in terms of our use case. I think that in the testing, we had about a 20 to 30% improvement in terms of how block space was estimated, which means fuller blocks. And what does fuller blocks means? The potential for more mining rewards, and happy miners makes happy proof of work chain.
Couldn't have said it better. So down into Captain Nemo, so Nautilus 0.3.6 is released. It's added, or they've added testnet support. The DApp connector, improved register parsing and PK extraction, and just a couple of small bug fixes and UI improvements.
Yep, I know that the big, let's say the big thing that they're working on in the background is Ledger. I haven't got an update in, let's say 2 days. Last I heard, they're working on the new calls for the Ledger build. Having testnet support is always great for wallets. Get tools for developers. I think that's probably something that needs to be the primary focus of the Ergo Foundation from this point moving forward is how do we optimize the tooling that, allows developers to build things in a way that's easy, well documented, and, they can follow, understand, and we iterate and grow with them.
Yep, giving them a platform to be able to test and resolve any issues through the testnet. You're not playing with real money as such. You can just tinker away there until you're confident to put onto mainnet. So down into Haileypdll, SAFEW wallet. It's now released on the Chrome store, so a lot of people have been waiting for that. Worked on merging the ledger support branch and had some issues. I made some tries, sorry. A ledger won't be supported on Firefox as there's no web HID or web USB implementations. Ledger won't be supported on Chrome less than 1.102 end of May, as Bitcoin JS uses a WASM library. So I think there's a little bit more of an update on that one further down as well.
Yeah, that's I think Nemo it was Anon Burr that bounced back and gave an update.
So coming up to Scalahub, I've mostly been looking at sidechain approaches for Erg to BTC with a two-way peg, and started looking at Anita BTC. So yeah, looking to have some more discussions with those guys.
That's going to be a big area of research, merged mining. What is that going to look like with sidechains? It's another area that we have the ability to incentivize proof of work miners. Eventually, perhaps, without a fork, who knows? Ethereum will actually, migrate to a different consensus model. And I think that one of our, let's say, longer term value proposition is Ergo has a couple of different tools that are unique compared to other GPU mineable coins that have the ability to offer the right incentives to attract miners. So sidechain with merge mining is one of them, as we talked about earlier. Having the emissions contract, so you can launch a proof of work backed token on top of a blockchain, are both going to be huge. And then storage rent it's a whole nother animal that we'll see how that progresses. I'm curious.
Yeah, the more value can we give to the miners, the better. So they can basically, or essentially, mine two chains at once. Is that correct?
They would, yeah. Essentially, what they would do is they would have the consensus securing multiple chains and have multiple vectors of reward. I think that as extended UTXO progresses, application-specific sidechains might make a lot of sense in some cases. So then it is kind of like a brand new blockchain / project that is plugged into the existing framework.
So on to Luivatra. You want to take that one?
Sure. It looks like they're working on a Ergo Python AppKit. It's still in development. Looks like they're working on the documentation, but that's huge. There's a lot of people out there that are pretty proficient in Python, and as we open new AppKits, that's going to bring a lot of new potential developers into the ecosystem. I'm really happy to watch ErgoPad, what they've been doing in terms of building out the Python infrastructure. Looks like they have onboarded a new developer to help with the ErgoScript tasks for, what is this, Paideia?
I think it's Paideia.
I think it's Paideia. It's Greek for education or learning or something like that.
Something along those lines.
Something along those lines. Looks like the off-chain bots are handling the staking transactions without an issue. He's going to be writing documentation on their use in the coming week. Looks like working on the stake, or working on justice. Basically, he's working on changing around the staking setup so the users have the ability to unstake without being slashed for that. And it looks like they're working on their DAO infrastructure. That is coming soon. Everybody's favorite word.
soon trademark.
Yeah, you know, development is hard. Let's be honest. Yeah. You can have things, you know, where you think everything is at where you want them, and then you hit a bug, or, you know, you have something that pops up that you need to readjust or rebuild, or sometimes soon is as good as it gets.
Yeah. It'll be here when it is.
Yeah.
So here's the update from a non-BR for SAFEW wallet. So for Firefox, you can use alternative supported transporters. And for Chrome, you can use the tiny, whatever this is, SecP 256K1 version 1.1.6, which is pure JS implementation without the Schnorr support.
So we have the ability to potentially build Ledger into Firefox and Chrome. Yep. That's the short of it. Looks like next we hear from Manon 2020S, who basically patched a bug in the mixer. So if you're running a mixer out there, you might want to check into the update. Looks like the rescan option in the update has been pretty effective, and it solved a lot of the existing issues that the mixer had. Looks like he's also working on integrating stealth addresses. Looks like they're putting an arbitrary deadline in 15 days. We should have stealth addresses in the mixer. That's pretty cool. And then also looks like he's working with Scalahub on some modifications to the Sigma join new mixing scheme. I know there's actually quite a few people in the ecosystem that are waiting to play with that. So I'm excited to see that move from, you know, paper to implementation.
And just on stealth addresses, what does that mean for the community?
Essentially, it is a way for you to receive payment without disclosing your address.
Yep. So my understanding is that the mixer pays to a smart contract, which then distributes to yourself.
Yep.
Yep.
Kind of a privacy scheme. Nice to see, though.
Yeah, most definitely. So I think we can go down to Cheese Enthusiast. Still my favorite name.
That's my favorite username in the Ergo Discord. I understand it, you know. Just
I can pronounce it easily.
Yeah, that too.
So the Getblok update, they've updated the UI. So the phase one's almost complete. It's looking pretty good, actually. They're launching the beta version on the 9th of May. In the Australian sort of way we display our dates, we go day, month, not month, day. So yeah, it's a little bit confused there. So based on the current UI with updated stats, and then laying out the wireframe for phase 2, which is the subpooling. So a little bit of development work going on there, which is, so they've worked on the error handling, efficiency, and better tracking of subpools using the Explorer API when necessary. Parameterizing subpools further, so it's easier to implement changes when user-made subpools are out. So I think that's pretty cool to the concept to be able to, for miners to be able to create their own subpools. Then they've worked on the emission contracts. The goal in the respect for this is to be able to dispute on launching of tokens using proof of work. So it's just kind of what we touched on earlier. So I think this is built on their proof of vote concept.
You know, if they're the first ones to market with a proof of like mechanism for distribution, I think they're going to pick up a lot of hash rates.
Yeah, definitely.
Other pools. And you know what? And good. I don't see, you know, F2 or Nano or anybody else in the Ergo developer updates. So good for them.
Exactly right.
You know, when I spin up my pool, I'm going to be mining to, you know, Getblok. I'm probably also going to be supporting Enigma just because Pro Savage has been around for a while, and I enjoy, just hopping in, talking to him every once in a while. But having those community-based mining pools brings a lot of value, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. You've got the people actually building the infrastructure, getting involved with the ecosystem.
Yeah, but it's one of those things. It's market competition. I don't see much competition here besides what they're doing. So inevitably, I think they're going to end up taking a huge portion of hash rate, which is great because with subpooling, you have the ability to decentralize it.
Yeah, sure. And then now next on to the Getblok Plasma. This is a pretty big one. Do you want to take this one?
Sure. It looks like they are working on creating a database, that's somewhat similar to the off-chain bank that Scalahub proposed on the Ergo forum a while ago. That's going to handle some of their reading, saving, loading, and persistent storage, for the data that they're running in their subpools. So I'm curious to see where this ends up. It looks like they're working on. It looks like they have some type of implementation, and the documentation is coming. So, once there's documentation, I'll have a better idea what they're playing with. Until that comes out, it's going to be interesting to see what they build and how it works both on and off chain.
Yeah, for sure.
And then I guess the miscellaneous is all you.
For the MISC stuff, working with CW on launching Dark Cave miners. So
what's that?
so the Dark Cave mining, we're just going to be introducing just a live stream from the perspective of the miners. So the Getblok are a pretty integral part of the mining ecosystem, as we just sort of touched on. And it's just going to give miners a voice and potentially highlight people's rigs, get some miners in to discuss what's going on in the ecosystem, but then just the overall mining industry as well. So we can touch on, say, ETH 2.0 or the merge, whatever things are being called now. Just general subjects in regards to the mining, giving the miners voices.
Yeah, I think that's great. Miners on Ethereum kind of got, I don't know, it's cast as villains, right? The sad thing is, most of the value that's been built on that is secured because of miners.
Definitely, and that's.
So I definitely think that's a good discussion to have, the value of mining.
Yeah, it's a funny one because, like you said, the value and the infrastructure that the miners have provided and built, the value for ETH over time, they're just kind of being shunned away and outcast. So hopefully we can provide a platform to incentivize those guys to come over.
Yeah, then hopefully I can mine a bit before they all show up. Looks like next we got Morphic. Looks like he's worked on Sigma, which is the 5.0 update that we covered earlier. Looks like him and MrStahlfelge are working on the AppKit. Looks like he reviewed a couple of pull requests. Looks like he also finished a security audit on the Web Wallet 1.9. And looks like we're just on the march towards 5.0. That's where a big part of where Morphic has been for the better part of a year, but that's a big upgrade.
Yeah, huge one for the protocol. So MHS Sam is working on bridges, so he's working with the Susie team. Finally sort of kicked things back off with those guys, so it'd be good to see some sort of development happening from that on that front. But then also working on the Rosen bridge. So he's got two bridges going on at the same time, which is quite a big task for him and his team. So the tokenomics had great progress. Details to be announced on that one. The guard services now can reach consensus once a payment transactions has occurred. And then the Ergo side contracts are all finished. And the UI is planned and the implementation will be started next week. Then into the Minotaur wallet. He's made good progress on the DApp connector. The idea is working, so we'll have something, have a DApp connector actually from a non-web wallet. That'd be a big one. Then on to the profit sharing. It's a couple of final tests are being done on that one. Be deployed soon, and then he'll be creating a web page on what it is, how it works, etc. So a little bit more documentation on how the profit sharing DApp works.
I'm excited to see that in motion, the profit sharing DApp. I think that's gonna open some unique use cases for future stuff that's being built. Try to, well, you kind of get into a issue whenever you have profit distribution, right? Because that mimics a security.
Yep.
And it's kind of interesting when you have a smart contract that's handling all of that.
Most definitely. So I think with the profit sharing DApp, I've heard a couple of sort of rumblings in the community in regards to people looking at that and utilizing it. So it'd be interesting to see what comes of it.
Yeah.
Scroll down to Dmitry.
All right. Looks like he's working on our servers. He's monitoring the Explorer's nodes to potentially configure some alerts. And he's also always busy on the front end stuff. And it looks like the new website is coming out soon. I've certainly been kind of following that update, but I think we're getting pretty close. And also, new design is coming out for sigmaverse. Now, one thing that potentially will happen on the sigmaverse side, let's see. I had a discussion with Noah, put in a request that we have a sigmaverse page for developer tools. That way, we kind of have like one directory for the entire ecosystem.
Sounds good, having a one-stop shop. So onto Satergo, which is a full node wallet. Just updated a minor fix on the PR, so he's just asking Kushti for a little bit of advice on that one. And Jay, the Ergod, so NightOwl weekly update. That's another good name. So the front end swap's completed. They've added a load state, which the transaction's been completed, then added a pop-up also once the swap's completed. So just little simple UI improvements. On the back end side, they've completed a roulette transaction for placing bets on chain, connected the front end and back end, deployed their own Ergo node and Explorer, and started working on our own Oracle scanner to produce random numbers. So I think that's most important in a gambling platform, having a true decentralized source of information to be able to feed into these sort of games.
Yeah, it's hard to do.
Yeah, have a truly randomized number. And then I've just finished a video presentation, so I just need to do a voiceover on that one.
All right, next we have Ilya, who's working on the Explorer. It's actually how Ilya started in the Ergo ecosystem. He was the main Explorer dev, and to some degree still is. It looks like he is working on a major Explorer update that's going to make it more flexible, configurable, and modular, so developers and DApp providers can configure the data that they need. So that's something that's a pretty big update, because I do know that we're currently scoping out supporting GraphQL, and a couple of other options are potentially on the table in terms of how people want to build their own implementation of the Explorer. And hopefully in time, we get a couple of community Explorer builds, and that opens the developer audience to some new tools. And looks like with ErgoDex, they're working on Cardano testnet stuff, which good luck. I don't know when they're launching. I hear every day, when's the token, what's happening, but I have no idea.
Just a simple reply, soon.
Soon.
So Marty with a Paideia update. So the DAO creation process, including the token distribution through airdrop, private sale, and public sale, is sorted. So kind of how the ErgoPad works. 2 versions of governance. So they've got a basic and optimistic. So whitelisted individuals can make proposals, or proposals pass automatically unless challenged, and then a vote happens. The DAO management, where users can make proposals, discuss them, and vote on them. So also, DAOs can create the token through Paideia. I think that makes it easy to be able to mint them as well. And DAOs can initiate their own basic staking contract. So a little bit more in conjunction with the way ErgoPad works. LGD. So quick update from GuokSwap. Still working on the GuokSwap library for V2. And then just working on the landing page, registering the domain, bits and pieces, but then also big congratulations as well, because he's helping out with ErgoPad now. Scroll down to Blitz. You want to take that one?
Sure.
Yep.
Looks like Blitz TCG has started a company and trademarked the company, and that's in review. Looks like he's currently interviewing some members for his team and has begun discussions with back-end developers. Looks like they're continuing blockchain integration and planning it with ErgoPad. Do you know if they're going to launch through ErgoPad?
I haven't heard.
DW?
No.
No, I don't know. I'm not sure either. I haven't been tracking that. Looks like they've completed more of their game user interface elements. They've completed more of their character concepts. They're targeting the end of year for a playable demo. That's pretty cool.
Yep.
Looks like they're came out with a architecture planning diagram for the nerds out there. So if you're the nerd out there, help out low key nerd. And he's calling out the fellow nerd brethren to have his back. It looks like they have started the Twitter marketing campaign. So those of you that are on Twitter, feel free to look into that. And it looks like there's also going to be a YouTube channel. So it's great to see that kind of community engagement from a project. That way people can track and follow the updates as they come out.
Yeah, for sure. I've personally seen a couple of their sort of concept drawings, but then also the audio as well. So I think they're onto something pretty special here.
A lot better art than I could ever dream of doing.
Yeah, my stick figure NFT, nothing compares. So on to an Unreal. So a lot of progress on the auction house. I think they're updating their UI, but then also implementing a couple of bits and pieces in regards to collections and things. The auction contract is also being updated to be a little bit more flexible and support features like collections. The SigUSD bot can execute orders so that the user's requests don't fail. It's almost completed, and then do some testing. Then a collection of EIP is also being polished based on the improvements he's doing to the auction contract. So yeah, just watch this space.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see how the auction house progresses, especially now that they have a competitor to contend with.
Yeah, driving innovation between the two auction houses. So it'll be good.
That's the ideal.
Yep. And then finally, we've got Ergo Sapiens with a quick update. So they're sending outbound NFTs via the Python AppKit, or that is now supported. Testing will now occur. And then ErgoPie, that's another little project from the communities in regards to complementing what Luivatra is putting together as well.
Pretty awesome
to
see those Python AppKits coming out. Well, I think that's a wrap. Is there any questions that you have about the dev update or anything like that, CW?
Not particularly. I'm just excited to see how much community engagement we get with these ones. So we know what the core team's capable of and the code that they always pump out. And then, having, as you can see, is what listed up here in the weekly update, who has provided updates from the community. It's really good to see.
The one thing that I did not see here that I'd like to give a shout out to would be Deco. They've been releasing their classes on YouTube. So open and free education. That's a powerful thing. Those of you that are interested in development or learning more about Ergo and how Ergo works, I would tune into their YouTube channel.
Yeah, for sure. And also to touch on, they've still got that active raffle running at the moment. So hopefully it's still active and people can contribute by the time this video goes live.
Yeah. And the other thing is Ergo Tutorials is always pumping out stuff in, Spanish, Italian, all the languages that I can't speak, but there's some English in there too.
Definitely.
So,
righto, we'll wrap that up and we'll get into it next week. Take care, guys.
All right, look forward to it.
See you, mate.